Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So this morning I was watching the Today Show and I saw some disturbing stories about Russell Simmons and Tavis Smiley. And I want to take some time to talk about those stories. Shout out to Melanated. Peace and blessings to you. Thanks for tuning in. So I'm going to talk about these issues briefly, and I want to hear from you all in the chat room about what you think with respect to this situation involving Russell Simmons and Tavis Smiley. So I'm going to try to share my screen right now with you all. If you can bear with me a second. Hold on one second. I'm going to start off by discussing the Tavis Smiley story. Okay, so hopefully you all can see this story right here about Tavis Smiley. He has been suspended because of sexual misconduct allegations. Now, his show, the Tavis Smiley Show, is distributed by PBS, and they decided that they would indefinitely suspend distribution of his show. And I'm going to read a few little excerpts from this article and then provide further commentary. So basically here it talks about how PBS engaged an outside firm to conduct an investigation immediately after learning of troubling allegations regarding Mr. Smiley. This investigation included interviews with witnesses as well as with Mr. Smiley. The inquiry uncovered multiple credible allegations of conduct that is inconsistent with the values and standards of PBS, and the totality of this information led to today's decision. It also goes on to say that this article also goes on to say that the investigation found credible allegations that Mr. Smiley had engaged in sexual relationships with multiple subordinates, sources said. Some witnesses interviewed expressed concern that their employment status was linked to the status of a sexual relationship with Mr. Smiley. In general, witnesses described Mr. Smiley as creating a verbally abusive and threatening environment that went beyond what could be expected in a typical high-pressure work environment. Several expressed concerns about retaliation. And here's what Tavis Smiley had to say in response. He said, "I have the utmost respect for women and celebrate the courage of those who come forth to tell their truth. To be clear, I have never groped, coerced, or exposed myself inappropriately to any workplace colleague in my entire broadcast career, covering 6 networks over 30 years. And then I was listening to the Today Show, and he also said something to the effect that if someone could get in trouble for having a consensual sexual relationship with a colleague, then God help us. And he was basically suggesting that a lot of people would be in trouble for having relationships with colleagues if that's the case. So that's the first story that I wanted to mention. And then also I'm going to look at this other story from PBS where they cite the same information. And I'm going to see if there's anything to add. Oh, yeah, and this is what else Tavis Smiley had to say about the investigation. He said, put simply, PBS overreacted and conducted a biased and sloppy investigation, which led to a rush to judgment and the trampling on a reputation that I have spent an entire lifetime trying to establish. So let's see if there's anything else that needs to be added. Yeah, so I think that about covers it with respect to Tavis Smiley. And now what I want to do is move on to the situation involving Russell Simmons. And I was very disappointed to hear this news. And I heard that there were some other allegations against him before, but these allegations in this New York Times article are very troubling, to say the least. Russell Simmons is a legend in hip hop. He helped found one of the most important hip hop music labels, Def Jam. He's also responsible for Def Comedy Jam. He's an icon in the community. He's someone that a lot of people respect. And not only has he been a pioneer in hip hop music, he has also been a philanthropist. I mean, he's given to a lot of causes. He's supported a lot of causes publicly. So for that reason, he is celebrated in the community. He's used his voice to make a difference. So for that reason, I was very troubled by these allegations. And I'm going to go through these allegations. Like 3 women have accused Russell Simmons of rape. So let's go through some of these allegations. You know, one of his first accusers is Drew Dixon. And you can just bear with me as I get to the relevant parts. Now, this is what she says. She says that she began to work with him, and he engaged in prolonged aggressive sexual harassment. She also says that that he would regularly expose his erect penis to her. And she says that Russell Simmons raped her in his downtown Manhattan apartment, and that she quit shortly afterwards. And if you can bear with me a second as I skim through the article. You know, and this article mentions that 4 women spoke with them on a record about Russell Simmons' violent sexual behavior. And let's go through this. Just bear with me a second. And the next allegation involves Tony Sally. You know, she was a musical journalist, and she got to know Russell Simmons. And she said that they had been cordial at one point, and she said that one time he wanted to show her his apartment, and she went on to say that he pushed me on the bed and jumped on top of me and physically attacked me. We were fighting, and she said, I said no. He raped her, that's what she says. And 2 of her friends said that Miss Sally told them about this assault around the time that it happened. So this is not some situation where somebody just comes out of the blue with a story. You know, this woman immediately told her colleagues about this incident. And she said that she was afraid to report the assault. And then it goes on to say that a year later, there was another incident. You know, she was at a hotel for a conference in South Florida, you know, while working with Warner Brother Records. And she says that Russell Simmons tried to lead her to a dark beach. She resisted. He attacked her. He grabbed her by the hair. She said, and he even chased her into the woman's restroom before she escaped, and said that she had barricaded the door. So that's one allegation. Then there's this allegation that a woman by the name of Tina Baker brought, and you know, this is her face, you know, her photograph, and she says this. She said, you know, she was at a club, and Russell Simmons invited her back to his apartment. Hold on one second. And when she got to his apartment, he began to pour drinks. He tried kissing her, and that led to a scuffle. She says that he was on top of her and that he pushed her down and told her, don't fight me. And then he proceeded to rape her. And she said, I did nothing. I shut my eyes and I waited for it to end. And it said, you know, the article further on says that she cried her whole way home. And in interviews and emails with her ex-husband and her psychologist and another therapist, they confirmed that she told them she was raped. And, you know, Russell Simmons, his response to that allegation is he has no recollection of ever having sexual relations with this woman. And again, here's her photograph. And a while ago, she had an album. So let's go through some more of these allegations. And then here are the allegations from Miss Dixon. She basically says that fending off Russell Simmons was a full-time job. She says it was exhausting. It was like making a record while swimming in rough seas. And then she said one night, hold on 1 second, y'all. She said that she went to his apartment and she remembered realizing that she was cornered. And she said no many times. And then she said that, you know, she told him that she had some kind of gynecological procedure and she couldn't have sex. And he told her he didn't care. And then the last thing she remembers is blacking out. She says, I remember him pinning me down to kiss me on the bed. And the next thing she recalled was being in his hot tub. So you get the idea. Let me see if there's anything else that I want to discuss from that article. So that's a summary of that particular article. So let me see. I'm going to try to open back up the chat page so I can see what people are saying. Okay, I see quite a few people have made comments. So I'm going to look at your comments in the live chat before I provide my commentary. I want to thank everyone that's tuned in for this live stream. I'm not going to keep you long today. Shout out to Melanated. Shout out to Queen Sister. Shout out to Ali. Shout out to Price. You know, I can't call a man Jesus. You know, I refuse to do that. But shout out to you, Price. And shout out to y'all. Now let me look through your comments and then I'll proceed. And this person said, I attribute it to toxic feminism and I think that's white supremacy. And then good morning, Queen Sister. Shout out to you. Peace to everybody, man. Peace and blessings to everyone. Good morning to everyone. So let's see. And Ali says that Simmons is a pretty vile person. And that's the thing about it. Like his public persona, you would never think that he would have done anything like this. And before I go any further, right now, these are just allegations. You know, I don't know the facts, but these allegations are very troubling and disturbing, to say the least. But his public persona would not make anyone think that he was capable of doing something like this. And that's the thing about it. Like, there's no like particular profile for somebody that can commit these types of crimes and acts. You know, that's the thing that's very disturbing. I mean, this man projects this idea that he's peaceful, you know, he's all about spiritualism, you know, into yoga, he eats right, you know, he's a vegan and all this and that. and he's into all these social justice causes. You know, he's somebody that has promoted this hip hop culture and all that kind of stuff. And that brings me to another point, like about the hip hop. You know, I can talk about that in a second, but about the whole link between misogyny and hip hop, and you know, just how this plays out. But yeah, I mean, that's something else. I mean, if these allegations are true, man, it's very troubling, man. It like destroys your sense of trust. Like you had this idea that this guy is a decent person, a decent human being, but yet he allegedly committed these acts. And then Melanated said that they love ruining black men's careers. And I'm going to go into that later. I'm going to respond to the whole black men issue and the conspiracy against the black man, because you hear that a lot, like especially with Bill Cosby. You know, once those allegations were raised against him, all these people were talking about conspiracy theories. But I'm going to talk about that in a second. I want to get into that in a minute. And Ali said, I don't care for the court of public opinion. I do believe these stories are valid, unlike Cosby, where the accusations were inconsistent. And he went on to say the bigger issue is white women, and let's see, on what they've always done. Black men need to see it for what it is. And y'all went on to say black men, you know, love to basically fall for white women's traps and all that stuff. Sooner or later they'll pay. And then she went on to say, or he, I can't, yeah, I think that's a woman. It's hard to tell from the avatar. She went on to say that I don't wish for anyone to be sexually assaulted. Okay, so now I'm going to get into my commentary. And the first thing that I want to say is this, like, you know, there seems to be a link between like this toxic masculinity and power. You know, a lot of these people who have recently been accused of these allegations, they have been men in positions of power, whether we're talking about politics or entertainment or just media. These people have influence. They are employers. They are people in a position of power where they have the power to hire and fire people. They have the power to make people's careers. And we see the example of like people like Harvey Weinstein and, you know, other people. They have power. So because of that, I think that what happens is they get intoxicated by their power. They have an entitlement to women's bodies just because of their wealth and their power, and because of their ability to further people's careers or destroy people's careers. They think that somehow that gives them a license to have their way with women. You know, whether the women want to be with them or not, whether the women are attracted to them or not, they feel like they are entitled to have their way with women. You know, whether that's in the extreme case of rape, or if it's in the case of sexual harassment, where someone basically is using their workplace as a means to have sex with as many women as possible, where they are linking success on the job to the woman being in a relationship with them. And that's one thing that's very disturbing. I mean, this thing about Tavis Smiley allegedly linking someone's employment status to their sexual relationship status with him, you know, that's very troubling. You know, you have people that do that. They say, well, you can't advance in this career if you don't have sex with me. And we hear about that in, you know, the music industry and in Hollywood, like how people are basically told that they have to pay, you know, play to pay and all that kind of stuff, you know, by laying down with these people or having sex. That's the only way that they can make it and stuff like that. And that creates a situation of exploitation. It creates a situation where women are treated like trash and, you know, are denied their rights and retaliated against. So if a woman decides, well, hey, I'm not sleeping with Tavis Smiley, I'm not sleeping with you. Next thing you know, she's demoted or fired and stuff like that, or retaliated against. That is a toxic environment. And that's what happens when these people have power. it seems like it infects them. Like a lot of these people, they become infected with this sense of entitlement, with this toxic masculinity where they think that they can just have their way with any woman. They think that they're entitled to have these women. And, it's just very disturbing, man. And another thing that I want to deal with is this whole issue of race and gender. I mean, a lot of times, what people do is they try to silence these women by telling them that, that this is some kind of conspiracy, by saying that they should be loyal to the race first and stuff like that. And I get that, I understand the importance of racial politics, and I talk about that all the time on this channel. But what happens is women's voices get suppressed in the name of pro-blackness or in the name of racial solidarity. So these women who are violated, these women who are raped, who are sexually assaulted or sexually harassed, they're forced to downplay that issue, put that on the back burner, put their own happiness and their own well-being in check in order to satisfy these people to say that you need to be loyal to the race regardless. And, I think that that's wrong. I think that we need to get out of the habit of suppressing the Black woman's voice, and we need to create an environment where women, period, feel like they can express their concerns, where they can, raise their claims against people who have done them wrong. And, too often that doesn't happen. And too often what happens is people talk all this conspiracy stuff, and that's what someone touched on in the comment section. They were talking about how it's a conspiracy and this and that. And, people use, these allegations of racism and stuff like that to basically cover up these types of allegations. They say, well, there's a conspiracy, like with the Bill Cosby thing, it's a conspiracy. They're trying to take down this Black man. And I'm sure that there are some people probably right now creating a video talking about this massive conspiracy to take down Russell Simmons or this conspiracy to take down Tavis Smiley. I'm sure there are people that are doing videos about that right now without presenting any kind of proof at all of a conspiracy, without presenting any kind of proof. And they want to raise this issue of racism. And I know that racism is a very real issue. I talk about it all the time. I know about the history of white women, for instance, falsely accusing Black men of rape and the aftermath, the results from that. But here, a lot of these women, from what I understand, are African-American women. So it's not a situation where there's a white woman accusing and there has been a white woman that's accused him of misconduct, no doubt. But from what I understand, most of these women in this article are African-American, even though they're very fair-skinned and all that kind of stuff. That's my understanding. And I'm sure that the same is probably true for Tavis Smiley, even though the article doesn't even mention the race of the women who have accused him. So, the fact that many of these accusers are Black, that takes out of this, the whole white woman line on the Black man scenario, so that's one thing. And the other thing is this, people want to present it like the Black man is being singled out, but now we see that a lot of men who are accused of these violations are being called out and they're being held accountable. And a lot of them are white. I mean, recently, Matt Lauer from the Today Show was fired. You have the whole situation with Harvey Weinstein, being ostracized in Hollywood. His whole situation has changed. You have all these actresses coming out accusing him of sexual misconduct. His own company has let him go and is trying to disassociate themselves from him. You have the situation of Al Franken in the U.S. Senate, who agreed to resign, to step down amid allegations of sexual harassment or sexually inappropriate conduct. You had a guy, Roy Moore, in Alabama, who was fiercely criticized and attacked. And at one point, his own party abandoned him, but later on, they got back on his bandwagon and stuff. But you see a pattern where people are being called out. There is a whole movement now called the Me Too movement where women are speaking out and voicing their concerns. So this is not something that's isolated, that's focused solely on singling out the black man and punishing and persecuting just the black man. This is a progressive movement of women finally mustering up the courage to tell their stories and to call out their abusers. So I don't buy into this people trying to play the race card in this particular situation, man. You know, and I think that when people try to racialize issues that aren't necessarily a race issue, what that does is that undermines their ability to really speak out on real issues of racism. It's like the story of the boy who cried wolf. If you want to call out racism, just make sure that it's an actual case of racism. You know, and too often, you know, people try to racialize these cases, and I wouldn't be surprised if people try to racialize this, you know, the Tavis Smiley situation or the Russell Simmons situation, just like they did with the Bill Cosby situation. You know, try to make it into some massive conspiracy against this black man. All these dozens of women just happen to collaborate and make up all these stories about Bill Cosby. All these women conspired and lied against him. Now, there's no doubt that there's some women that probably jumped on the bandwagon and some women who exaggerated or even outright lied. But all of the women are lying? That's what you expect people to believe? So I just shake my head at that kind of stuff, man. And that's the thing about this whole situation. Like, it is transcending politics and political party. You know, it's not confined to the Republicans or the conservatives. You know, you have liberals who reportedly support women's rights, people who support legislation, for instance, that benefits women, you know, like Al Franken's. I'm sure he supported legislation that promotes women's rights and all this and that. You got this guy, Russell Simmons, who presents this image like he's some kind of liberal, spiritual, uh, vegan, yoga man and all that kind of stuff, some kind of wise man and stuff like that. He's accused of these things. You have Tavis Smiley, you know, somebody who's a progressive. And the funny thing about Tavis Smiley is this, man. He spent 8 years, you know, going after Obama. You know, and some of his criticisms was valid. You know, I've done articles on my blog about, you know, the valid things that him and Cornel West have raised, the valid points they have raised and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, I mean, and this is a side issue, I'm just going to mention this in passing, but the thing is, like, you had this Donald Trump in the White House raising all kinds of hell, causing all kinds of problems, but you haven't heard a word from Tavis Smiley. I mean, he may have done like an interview here or an interview there, but it's nothing like what he did during the Obama administration, man, where he spent all his time basically riding Obama, attacking Obama. But here you have somebody that's far worse than Obama by any measure. But you don't see Tavis Smiley out there bashing the president like he bashed Obama. And I think that that plays into this whole thing, you know, this hateration type deal and all that kind of stuff. But it's funny to see things turn around. Like, after all that self-righteous condemnation of Obama, here we have Tavis Smiley accused of all this wrongdoing. Yeah, so that's one thing, you know, that I wanted to mention. And I'm going to close out on this note. And it's a point that I made before, like during this live stream, and that's this. We need to create an environment that encourages women to step forward with these allegations. Because right now we don't have such an environment. I mean, you're starting to see a turnaround with this whole Me Too movement where women are finally getting the courage, and you see a lot of this stuff coming out, like a lot of people raising these claims and all that kind of stuff, mustering up the courage to speak. And we have to create an environment that encourages more women to step forward. We have to. And, you know, and I think that it's a great thing that people are mustering up the courage to speak on these issues, because for far too long, a lot of these women have been forced to like bury their pain. You know, they have been forced to push all their concerns and into the closet and just forget that it ever happened and suffer in silence. And it's a good thing that now they can finally air out these concerns and express themselves. I mean, so hopefully we're moving more in that direction. But, you know, part of the problem is this, like for far too long, you know, women have been attacked. Like when a woman comes out to raise these allegations, the first thing people want to do is blame that woman, blame her for her conduct or her decision, for instance, her decision to do certain things or to wear certain types of clothing, instead of the perpetrator being brought on trial or being analyzed or judged. What happens is the victim is the one who's analyzed and judged. Her credibility is the one attacked. So we need to get out of that situation where we blame the victim, and we also need to move away from demonizing the victim. You know, that's what happens. You know, the first thing they want to do is demonize these people, saying that they're after money, that they're lying, and this and that. You know, they go into their history, just like they do with black people. When black people are victims of police brutality, the first thing they want to do is demonize the victim, criminalize the victim so that people don't have any sympathy for him. So I wouldn't be surprised if people don't start to dig into these people's past and their history and try to discredit them. And that's one thing that came out about this Harvey Weinstein thing. I mean, this guy had a team of professional spies and stuff, and investigators whose sole job was to investigate people who raised allegations, find dirt on them, and silence them by any means necessary. And unfortunately, that's what happens here. You know, you actually have people here on YouTube who make it their life mission to defend rapists, to defend people who are accused of sexual molestation and, you know, child molesting and pedophilia, and, you know, people who are accused of domestic violence. These people make it their life mission to defend these scumbags and to attack the women who have stepped forward to accuse these people. We got to get rid of that kind of toxic environment. We need to learn to listen to these women and their allegations and investigate them. And I'm not saying that just because somebody raises an allegation that is automatically true. No, I mean, there has to be an investigation. But it is troubling when you have multiple people raising the same allegations. And the thing is, you got dozens of people raising allegations. And because somebody is a celebrity or because they played some TV father, you know, we automatically assume that they are credible and that all those dozens of other people are incredible. So that's what I have to say on that. I'm going to look through your comments before I close out. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in to this live stream. So if you all can bear with me a second. And yeah, I am going to get back to, like I said in my last live stream, that I'm going to talk about this issue of the politics of hair. I plan to do so soon. I'm not sure exactly when. Hopefully it'll be today so I can finish it out. Because I did a video and, you know, you had all these people raising all these comments. So I'm going to have to do a response to the people that left comments to my video. And the funny thing is, as I said before, I only mentioned that hair issue for a few seconds, but yet people fixated on that instead of all the other issues I talked about in my I'm pro-black video. So let me scroll through these comments before I close out. Thanks again for everyone who tuned in. Yeah, so Melanated said they love ruining black men's careers. Again, this is not just some black man's issue, because there are plenty of white men now whose careers are being ruined because of their past behavior, their track record of abusing women, harassing women, etc. So this is not some, I don't see it as some race issue in this case. And as I said before, like, I don't know if these allegations are true, but they're very serious. And I'm not going to say that these people are falsely accusing him. You know, I don't know if their allegations are false either. And again, these women, you know, from what I can tell, they're light-skinned African-American women. But there is a white woman, as I said before, who also has accused Russell Simmons. Just bear with me a second. Shout out to B Money. Yeah, there are too many conspiracy Negroes, man. That's the funny thing, man. It's like when I see these conspiracy channels and stuff like that, you know, I think that they're just there for entertainment only. You know, I'll check them out to get a few laughs or, you know, shits and giggles and stuff like that. But in terms of looking at them as serious or taking any theories they have as serious, I mean, you got these nutcases that are talking about clones, that are talking about aliens, that are talking about the earth is flat and all that other ridiculous stuff, man. I mean, anybody at this late date that's talking about the earth is flat, you're an idiot, man. Because science has proven that the earth is round, but yet you had these conspiracy wackos talking about, you know, the earth is flat and all that kind of stuff, man. That's just how I lost a lot. I mean, it's like these people will believe anything. Yeah, Ali, yeah, that's true. A white woman did kick it off with Russell Simmons. Like, there was a white woman who stepped forward first to raise these allegations and stuff with respect to Russell Simmons. And yeah, but these recent allegations are very serious. I mean, there's at least 3 women who have accused him of rape. And for those of you who don't know, once this video is uploaded, I will have links to these articles in it so that you can, in a description box, so that you could actually read their articles for yourself and get the information for yourself and judge it for yourself. Yeah, that's a good point, B Money. I mean, it's like you got all these people that swear that Becky's will uphold black men. I mean, these people celebrate the white woman. They see her as some kind of standard of beauty. They see her as some kind of ideal woman. They see her as being better than their own black woman. They hold her up on a pedestal, and then these same people had a nerve to criticize these black women who hold up the white man on some kind of pedestal, man. When these people are two peas in the same pod, man. And the thing is, you know, they uplift these white women when often it was the white woman who lied on the black man, accused black men of rape, resulting in the black man being lynched and black communities being destroyed. But yet, these people still look upon that white woman as some kind of delicate creature, some kind of trophy, like some kind of thing that they need to chase after. That's how they think, man. You got fools on here with videos talking about white women are better than black women, but yet these fools want to lecture black women about swirling. It's amazing, man. And lecture black men too about how much they love white women, but yet these are the same people who actually produce videos called "The White Woman is Better Than the Black Woman." Insane. Oh, and B Money said he heard some coons already implicating Obama and setting up Tavis Smiley. That's crazy. Oh, I see. Lafayette already made it about race when it comes to Tavis Smiley. That Boyce Watkins made it about race when it comes to Tavis Smiley. I gotta check out Boyce Watkins' video. I saw, you know, I saw it, but I kept moving. I didn't watch it, you know, on my subscriptions. So I got to go back and check out what Boyce Watkins has to say about it. I see August Dream says some women may be using this opportunity to get back at men who, maybe didn't show them any attention. I mean, is that possible? Yeah, I mean, anything is possible, but it's unlikely. You know, I don't think that these women who have stepped forward on to make these claims against Tavis Smiley or Russell Simmons are motivated like that. You know, nobody would publicly come forward after all these years just to get back at somebody. I mean, that doesn't make much sense to me. I think that that's unlikely. Okay, and somebody said, hold on one sec. I don't buy that women are mustering up strength. They're using privilege of being allegedly assaulted by famous people. If they weren't rich men, nobody would care, which is a bigger problem. Yeah, I mean, that is a problem. Like, people should be concerned, you know, regardless of the status of the accused. But I think what happens is when people see what's happens in these situations where you have these famous people accused and nothing happens, then that discourages the ordinary woman from raising these types of claims against the men that they have to deal with on a job or in other environments and stuff like that. They become less inclined to speak out when they see that there is no justice that they can obtain. And I see that this person, August Dream, says, sorry, this is America. Race is always a factor. I mean, race is a factor in a lot of cases, but I mean, you got to point out to me how Russell Simmons is some victim of racism in this situation. You got to point out to me how Tavis Smiley is some victim of racism. And even those men, so far, they haven't played the race card. Like, they haven't said, well, this is a conspiracy because I'm a black man. I haven't heard Russell Simmons use that in any of his responses. I haven't heard Tavis Smiley come with that kind of response, even though Tavis Smiley deals with race all the time and speaks about race, but he hasn't raised that as an issue here. I mean, again, as I said before, you have these white men who are accused. So point out to me how this is a race issue, how those two situations that we're talking about in this video are race issues. And then, like with Bill Cosby, I mean, people want to defend him. They want to put him on some kind of cross, like he's Jesus or he's, you know, they want to make him into a Malcolm X type figure or Martin Luther King, like he's some martyr for black people, man. I mean, it's just crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. All those dozens upon dozens of women, all of them are lying. Okay. And like somebody brought up this thing about Cosby, they said most of the recollections dealing with Cosby weren't actual rape. You know, well, some of them weren't rape, some of them are sexual abuse allegations, but a lot of them are rape allegations. Anytime you drug somebody and they are unconscious or they're unable to move or resist, that's rape. They haven't consented to the sexual conduct, so that's rape. And you know, it's like I'm really tired of people like trying to rationalize sexual abuse and make excuses for it. And that's not what you're doing here, but you know, it just reminds me of that. Now somebody's hammering something, so y'all got to bear with me. Hopefully, you won't disturb this video. It should be soon in a second. I mean, it should be done soon, so bear with me. Okay, and those are good points. Back to love. I mean, about the Scottsboro boys, the Central Park Five, Emmett Till, without a doubt. You know, that's a good point about how they got killed. And then when you look at the top, well, some of them got killed. You know, like Emmett Till, um, and you know, for instance, you know, and they face serious charges. And Harvey Weinstein, from what I understand, can still face charges. You know, some people, he's being investigated right now in New York City for possible charges. So it's not over with him yet. But I mean, it's a great point, you know, about the Central Park Five and Emmett Till and all that kind of stuff and what happened to them. But we got to look at what's happening today. And when we look at the situation today, we see that there are allegations against white men and black men, and they're facing similar consequences where they're getting fired. Like with Tavis Smiley, he's no longer being distributed by PBS, but also PBS fired Charlie Rose, you know, a prominent journalist who has a distinguished career. They fired him because of sexual abuse allegations. So it's hard to put forth this race argument under those types of circumstances. All right, so hopefully this noise isn't too disturbing. Somebody's knocking on something. Hold on one second, y'all. Doug said, be careful talking about those flat earthers. They'll come for you. Yeah, man, I just don't get it, man. Like with these people saying the earth is flat, man. I was watching this video with this brother LA that I check out, but he was even talking that flat earth stuff. All I could do was shake my head, man. I don't understand how people still are debating something that's well established. But anyway, that's beside the point. And S. Wiseman says that she hopes that Tavis Smiley fights back if the allegations aren't true. Yeah, I mean, he should fight back. I mean, if somebody's falsely accusing you of misconduct, then you should fight back. You should fight and you know, protect your name. You know, that should come naturally. You know, so I don't dispute that. I don't see anything wrong with somebody obviously defending themselves if they have been falsely accused. And you know, I would hope that he would do so if these allegations are false. But they said that they conducted an investigation. It wasn't a situation where somebody simply said he said, she said, and they just moved out and made their decision hastily after that. They conducted an investigation. They interviewed people. They interviewed Tavis Smiley, and they say that those allegations were credible after conducting a thorough investigation. They hired an outside firm, and the same is true for like the Today Show. They conducted an investigation, and after doing that investigation, they decided to fire Matt Lauer. And somebody said that Tavis Smiley is a complete racist. No, he's not a racist. I mean, you know, that's a ridiculous charge to accuse him of. It's like what happens is when black people speak out against racism, you know, you have these people that want to silence black people by calling them racist when black people can't possibly be racist because we don't have the power to be racist. So let me hurry up through these comments because somebody decided to make all this noise and racket right now while I'm trying to do a Google Hangout. Yeah, that's a good point, Elaine Lloyd. It's like they, you know, these misogynists and these black women swirlers, they don't want to date each other. You know, they don't want to be with the black man or the black woman, but yet they attack each other. You know, that's the thing I don't get, man. It's like, you know, these black women, for instance, who are done with the black man. Why are you still concerned with what black men are saying about you, black women? If you are done with black men and you moved on and you're beyond black and white and blah, 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 why are you concerned with black men? And the same is true for these black men that love Becky so much. You know, they love the white woman so much. They're so happy with their white woman, but yet and still they have all this time to be fixated on the concerns and affairs of black women. And I think something's wrong with that, man. Like you got this guy on here who's married to this white woman, but he's all in black women's business. I mean, it's crazy. Okay, and S. Wiseman quotes Boyce Watkins as saying, "As long as you work for your oppressor, their agenda will always trump your own." And I mean, that's a fact. Like as long as you're working for the white man, if they have an agenda, it will trump your own. But I don't see how that comes into play in this situation. He's been accused of sexual misconduct. It violates PBS's policy. Um, so I don't see this as a situation of the oppressor doing anything to undermine Tavis Smiley yet. Now, if there's more information that comes out later that reveals that fact, then I will address that. But at this point, it's too early to make such an accusation or such a statement. And somebody that's going by the name Clan Army Allah, I don't know if that's a troll account or what, but you say that Bill Cosby has always been a creepy guy to me as a kid. I mean, Cosby is somebody that I had great respect for. I great respect for the Cosby Show, great respect for his work on Fat Albert, where he would have this cartoon that had moral lessons behind it. Great respect for the work that he did with respect to Black history. Like he had a documentary about Black history being lost and all that kind of stuff, and about stereotypes. So, I mean, he's somebody that I have great respect for, or had great respect for. But despite that great respect for him, that won't cause me to turn a blind eye. It won't cause me to become blind to these serious allegations that have been raised against him. I mean, even somebody, an icon like a John Conyers, somebody that I have great respect for, a man who's been pushing for reparations, a man who's helped pass progressive legislation to benefit Black communities, but yet he was accused of sexual harassment, and he decided to resign. Even though he has that progressive track record, that progressive record of working for Black people and working for reparations, that record won't cause me to say, well, let me give him a pass and say it's okay for him to abuse women. No, it's not okay for anybody to abuse and violate women or to harass women. Yeah, and that's a good point. IDK said that Blacks can't be racist because we don't have power in this country to negatively affect a white person's life by discriminating against them. And yet there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, because we don't control the political system, even though you have Black politicians. We don't control the economic system. Most of the corporations are owned by white men. We don't control many of the institutions like the law enforcement institutions for the most part. You do have areas where you have predominantly Black communities where you do have a Black police chief. But overall, in this society, we don't exercise the type of power and influence that it takes to oppress an entire race of people. So in that sense, we don't have the means to be racist in a traditional sense of what racism means. Now, Black people can be bigoted. Black people can be prejudiced and all that kind of stuff, like plenty of these people are. These people that condemn all white people, these people that talk about, the white man is the devil and blah, 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 evil albinoids this and cocker devils that. I mean, that's prejudice, so yeah, Black people can be prejudiced. They can be bigoted and narrow-minded and stuff. They can try to emulate the white man's hatred and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they are not racist in the sense of having the ability to truly discriminate against white people as a collective. Now, you have isolated cases, like, for instance, if somebody has a Black-owned business and they decide not to hire white people. So there are isolated situations of racism, but as a collective, Black people don't have the power to be racist. All right, so bear with me a second. I'm gonna look at some more of these comments. And I see that Back to Life said that Dewey Bazella, I think that's the name, had served 28 years in jail for a rape he didn't commit. Yeah, I mean, that does happen. People are falsely accused. You have groups like the Innocence Project, which investigates these people who are wrongly convicted, and they get DNA evidence, and they help exonerate people who are wrongfully charged and convicted. Shout out to Rose Marie for your donation. I think that's 30 pounds. I think so. You must be from the UK. I appreciate your comment. You said we can't be racist um, because we are speaking facts. Yeah, that's true. I mean, when Black people speak out against racism, and speak about actual facts about police brutality or institutional racism, um, first thing people want to do is label them racist to silence their voice. So again, shout out to Rose Marie for your donation. I truly appreciate it. And that reminds me of something that I was going to do a video about this, and I may still do a video about demonetization here on YouTube. My channel, for some reason, anytime I post any video about anything, within seconds of me posting that video, the video is marked as not suitable for all advertisers. I could do a video about Black relationships, for instance. I did a video where I was making a 2-minute long video about a promotion for an upcoming program on Black relationships, and YouTube decided to demonetize that, say that that was not fit for advertisers. Black love is not fit for advertisers here on YouTube. I mean, this is how ridiculous it has gotten. And I wouldn't be surprised if my channel just hasn't been flagged for not being suitable for advertisers in general. And so for that reason, any video that I post is automatically marked as not being appropriate for advertisements. So, I mean, the revenue from ads has drastically declined here on YouTube. So for that reason, that's why donations are important, because time is invested in doing these videos. You spend time researching different topics, reading various articles, spending time actually recording and uploading the video. So there is a value to what we do here on YouTube. And so for that reason, I appreciate any donations that you all provide. And I appreciate your support. I appreciate you watching my videos, liking my videos, and sharing my videos. So again, I want to thank Rose Marie for your donation. It's important. And I just want to be clear, like, even though I appreciate donations, I will continue to put forth my message, whether or not I receive donations, whether or not I receive any kind of ad revenue. I'm not motivated by that. I am motivated by the message that's very important for our people. For years, I did these YouTube videos without being monetized. But again, I have no problem with monetization. I support people being compensated in some kind of way for their time putting up this content. So with that, I'm going to move on to some more of these comments before I close out. And Back to Love made a great point about Roman Polanski being accused of sodomizing and raping a young girl. And, the same can be raised about Woody Allen, too. He's accused of molesting his stepdaughter. And, one of his stepdaughters recently did an article talking about why he's not being called out and stuff like that with this Me Too movement. And, that's a great point. That's a great point. And hopefully, those old issues will be brought up and these people will be dealt with. But now, like in terms of recently, now these people are being dealt with regardless of their party affiliation and regardless of their race and all that kind of stuff. And I hope that continues. Shout out to B Money for your $20 donation. I truly appreciate it. You know, I appreciate your support. You know, you watch a lot of my videos. You have great commentary to the videos. So shout out to you, man. So let me finish reading through some more of these comments. S. Wiseman said, for some reason, they believe that Black love is, you know, hatred. You know, they equate it with hatred. And that's, for some reason, there may be some truth to that. And Rosemarie said, your message is positive. We appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate you and your donation and your comment. Oh, B Money said his Bitcoin has been going bananas. I got to find out more about that. I'm hearing about how that's you know, how the stock value of that is increasing, but some people are skeptical. They're wondering about whether or not that's real or if it's going to collapse. But yeah, so I'll read this last comment from August Dreams. Shout out to you. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. You know, even the people that disagree with some of the points I raised. And August Dream said, that's my point. He's a white man who has white privilege. And I assume you're talking about Polanski, Roman Polanski, I think that's his name. Yeah, I mean, white privilege is still a reality in this country. You know, I've done many videos talking about that. And, you know, to a degree, I'm sure that that still goes on with respect to these allegations of sexual harassment. But right now, we're seeing white people being held accountable as well. So with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings to each and every one of you. Shout out to B Money for your donation. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Rose Marie for your donation. And shout out to everybody in the chat room. Shout out to Case K. Shout out to Back to Love. Shout out to Elaine Lloyd. Shout out to S. Wiseman. Shout out to August Dream. Shout out to Ali Emmett. Shout out to everybody. And I'll even shout out Mr. Greenstar 2012, even though you're wrong about Tavis Smiley being a racist. So peace and blessings to each and every one of you. Have a good day.